which was a factor, to be honest, in the Eels not scoring more points, I felt. You're going to get this sort of game. I think the better team won, and I don't think you could say the para halves were terrible. I certainly think one of the issues was didn't Brown get a head check as well, which took him out of the firing.
He had to go for a HIA
period, which I just think then they were out without both the halfbacks, weren't they? Really?
Yeah, I mean they're a lot of pressure's been on him with Moses' absence, and he's done very, very well, but he's still young. But at the end of the day, good sides win ugly, and this was quite ugly, but the Eels still won by hook or by crook. So they march on, and possibly one of the most surprising results of the weekend: the Dragons 34, the Sea Eagles 4.
Is it that surprising?
The Sea Eagles have got nobody on deck, have they? They're decimated.
Yeah, and I think you look at the pack that they're playing at the moment, and with the exception of Jake Trbojevic, they're struggling. I mean, without adding Fanua Blake this week as well, that's just a lot of firepower gone. And whilst the Dragons have been shit this year, they do have a calibre of player in their pack that can do well. And when you're not coming up against much the other way, and then you don't
DCE
have
had a terrible game, didn't they?
That the Sea Eagles would have with Tommy Turbo to just change the field position. When your forward pack aren't doing well, he can flip the game anyway. You're missing two huge elements there. You've lost your big middleman who creates things to happen, creates things and makes things happen, and you've lost your guy at the back who, when the forwards aren't performing, makes things happen. So when you look at it in that context, I don't think the Sea Eagles are that good anymore with two or three key men out.
No, they've been doing a lot of covering, haven't they, the last few weeks? They've been moving players around. You know, they were missing their 6, they're missing their 1. They now have missed their kind of first choice prop, and it just it showed up, didn't it? You know, the players that they had there were just not able to do it, and DCE had a really bad game as well. He kept dropping it every other minute, so they just couldn't cover it. But I have to say, I mean, I caught sight of this score kind of with like 10 minutes to go when I was watching it, kind of watching it on delay. And I was like, how did this get to 34-4? Because it was something like 16-4 at the time. And I think just everything went right for St George for 10 minutes, didn't it? And everything stuck. So
yeah, obviously St
good
George
win.
aren't gonna challenge the top 8. It doesn't feel like at all. But some credit to their side, and you know, it probably keeps the coaching business there. But the Sea Eagles were 4 injuries away from being, like, when they were all on deck, they were a top 4 potential, but they were only 3 or 4 injuries away from being a side that won't get in the 8, and that I think that's the imbalance in their squad at the moment.
Yeah, they've got too many fill-in players, which can work for a week or two individually. And it's not to their their lack of credit individually. It's just that there was just too many of them on the field this week.
No, exactly, because Elliott playing at his best is a decent first grade player, but Elliott playing his best is about a third of Trbojevic playing at his average.
Yes, exactly.
Do you want to take us through the standings?
Yep, so the Eels stay top on 16 points from 9 played. Panthers have 15, Storm have 14, and Roosters on 12. They make up the top 4. Knights have 11, Rabbitohs and Raiders have 10. Then the West Tigers lead a group of 3 on 8 points. They're joined by the Sharks and Sea Eagles. Dragons, Cowboys, Warriors, Broncos and Titans all have 6 points with 3 wins. But the Bulldogs... wishful thinking. The Bulldogs stay rooted to the bottom on 1 win from 9 played. Very tight at that, but under the 8.
I suppose maybe I'm being a bit flippant saying the Dragons won't challenge the 8 because they're only 2 points behind 8th place, aren't they? And that 8th place side is the Tigers, who everyone's expecting to drop out of there. Is there any of those sides that you think will go on a run at some point? Will the Sharks get their fitness together? Is this a springboard for the Dragons? And I mean match fitness for the Sharks. Is this a springboard for the Dragons? Will the Broncos see their win as a starting point for them? Or is it still the West Tigers kind of actually probably are the best of those 9 sides that aren't the sides we think are going to make up the top 8?
If the Dragons can stop messing around with their team and keep people fit, they've got the raw personnel to actually make it into the 8. As surprising as that sounds, because 4 or 5 weeks ago I would have never have said that. But they do have the players to do it. I just don't see... I don't see the Cowboys. I don't see the Warriors. I don't see the Broncos. I think the Titans will scratch along. Of any of those teams, I think the Dragons might be the one that might push Wests.
Yeah, the Cowboys have got big defensive holes. The Warriors obviously have got morale issues.
Lots of problems. Lots of problems.
The Broncos and Titans, low on confidence, is an understatement.
Well, yeah, but the Titans are also, the Titans are massively overachieving probably, and the Broncos are massively underachieving. But
let's have a look at the round 10 fixtures. We've got the Roosters versus the Raiders, which would have been a mouthwaterer, but maybe not so much now. Thursday at 10:50. The Storm versus the Titans, Friday at 9 o'clock. No one's needing to set their record for that one. West Tigers versus the Broncos, Friday at 10:55. That might tell us a bit about both of those two teams for the top 8 in the second half of the season. Dragons versus Bulldogs, Saturday at 6 a.m. Rabbitohs versus Knights, Saturday at 8:30 a.m. That could be a tasty matchup. The Sea Eagles versus the Eels, Saturday at 10:35 a.m. The Warriors versus the Sharks, Sunday at 5 a.m. So they must have put the Warriors back in the New Zealand time slot. And then the Panthers versus the Cowboys, Sunday at 7:05 a.m. There's no real mouthwatering games this week, is there?
There's no blockbuster. If I'm going to pick out one game to watch, and if you only watch one game this week, I'd probably watch the Rabbitohs and Knights. I just feel that they're probably the most balanced of those in terms of competitiveness.
Yeah, obviously, without Josh Hodgson, we'll still have Whitehead, we'll still have Williams, we'll still have Sutton, and possibly Ryan Hall might get another chance for the Roosters. From a Brit Watch point of view, that's the game that's going to have the most local talent in. But I don't know, bits and pieces. Other match reviews. We had 2 other match reviews, both from the same game. The 2016 £1 million game, Hull Kingston Rovers versus Salford. Always in our shadow, said, 2016, what a year for Hull KR. 20-0 up and they fucked it up. Then 8 up against Salford with 2 minutes left when Josh Griff said, hold my beer, and destroyed the right flank of the Dobbins. 2 missed conversions and the £1 million drop goal later, and they were championship bound, and we ruined their song at Wembley too. And then Tom Andrews said, £50 a month to watch this crap. Not only was it on the telly, it was all over Twitter and Facebook. Due to the £1 million game not existing anymore, I put forward the movement to erase all previous ones from memory and existence.
Here, I agree.
I mean, we've talked about this game lots of times.
Yeah.
But
ad infinitum. But
there's still something absolutely insane about those last 2.5 minutes of this match, isn't there? The last 3 sets of the game, 2 in regular time and 1 in extra time. It's just phenomenal still.
Yeah.
In the game the other week in the NRL, and you had the 2 drop goals in the Storm Roosters game last week. And it was very exciting, and they were great stuff. But neither of them drop goals were a patch on what on what O'Brien did, kicking to the open end, kicking into the sea at Hull. I mean, it was just, and what it meant, what was riding on it. The fact that if he'd have missed it, it would have given Hull KR plenty of opportunity to come and set something up for themselves. It was just. And that's before you talk about what needed to happen for it to get to extra time. And I know Hull KR fans won't want to recap it so much. And I know Hull FC fans will probably revel in it too much because, Rovers bounced back pretty straightforwardly, if we're being honest.
Yeah, it is.
It's still it's monumental.
Yeah, it's right up there as pivotal kind of moments of Super League in its history, and it's when you're talking about the greatest drop goal of all time, when you combine the technique, as you say, of it, the timing of it and everything, it's up there as you probably put it in your. If you're putting together a kind of a 5-minute highlight reel of kind of Super League, you probably put it in there, don't you? Because it's iconic for all the right reasons, or indeed all the wrong reasons. Same as they always played fucking wide to west blooming try every 6 minutes. It feels like, because it's an iconic thing of the sport.
No, exactly. Like Wigan scored.
That's just the way it works.
Wigan scored a try against Bradford, didn't they? I think. Similar era to wide to west, the Radlinski and Renouf try, which
I was in the that was at well, I'm going to say JJB, but that's what it was at the time.
It was, yeah, and that try probably was as impactful on what happened at the table and those sorts of things as the wide to west try, but it just didn't quite ever get that aura and mystique about it. Kind of the same way that. Was it Scott Moore who scored the winning try in the
it was Scott Moore,
first £1 million game? Like, that was as important and pivotal a moment as what Greg Johnson scored the tries, by the way. He never gets talked about. It's Josh Griffin and Gareth O'Brien. So, but they didn't. There's plenty of great moments or significant moments that didn't quite have the magic of a couple of other moments, and that's what elevates them. And if this game had been like Salford versus one of the championship sides, if it was Salford versus Leigh, rather than Leigh having already secured promotion, it wouldn't have carried the same presence, I don't think. The fact that it was two Super League sides and it went right down to it and it meant so much.
Yeah, that's why it's an iconic moment in league. That's just the way it is. As hard as it is for
fans should be happy about being part of it, because it didn't damage them that much in the long run, did it?
No. It was it's just a it'll just be a nervous tick for Tom for the rest of his life. That's all.
Right, let's move on to the fairly rapid fire quiz.
Yay.
So, as teased, Alan, I was going to get you to do the quiz this week, but then, because I knew you were travelling out to the coast and what have you, I thought, I'll throw something together, and it really is thrown together. There's 4 questions. There's 5 points up for grabs, and it's based on around some of the 2 French players that were in the news. I thought we haven't really done any French stuff for a while, so let's cover those off in the quiz. Maybe once we've done the quiz, we can talk about some of our other favourite French players that have played in Super League. I don't know, just an idea. But the 4 questions are: let's start with, which club did Michael Simon play at between his 2 spells with Catalans?
I'm getting confused. I've got 2 in my head. I'm going to go for Wakefield.
Yeah, it was. I think he played 2 or 3 seasons there at Wakefield before heading back